Once again, I have a pleasure to introduce Sister Masuma, who's joined us to talk about these topics in Muharram. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Inshallah, grace of God, you're well, inshallah.
Alhamdulillah, thank you.
Good. So today's topic is, we're going to straight away, is obviously a pivotal role in the message of Imam Hussain is about Sayyada Zainab. And we have a question. Sayyada Zainab was so important in continuing the true message of Islam after the death of her brother Imam Hussain. Upon travelling to Damascus to the court of Yazid, she taught humanity so many valuable lessons. What advice would you give to those in difficult times who may come across some of the obstacles seen by Sayyida Zainab?
Okay, I think initially maybe we can start off with looking at some of the lessons that we learned from Sayyida Zainab,
Sure.
Islam's life. For me personally, I think the greatest lesson that one of the greatest lessons that I learned from her is the fact that she was in a situation which was probably the most difficult situation in her whole life, where she was going to lose her brother, her children, and she didn't have her husband by her side. And I think that's huge for me, because whenever I feel like I'm in a difficult situation, or whenever I think, I always feel like I need him to support me.
Oh, yeah.
And I think for me, the greatest lesson was, as long as I have Allah, I don't need anyone else.
Yeah.
And if Allah feels that I'll need someone, He will send me someone.
Yeah.
So I think, as a woman, I had my father looking after me and protecting me. And then when I got married, I had my husband looking after me and protecting me. And I think I personally would rely on them. And I think the lesson that I take away from Sayyida Zainab alayhi salam is my reliance should only be to Allah.
Yeah, but I think when you have those relations, and to detach yourself is amazing, because it's not easy, because that comfort is there.
Yeah.
And for you to then say, actually my reliance is on Allah, when the comfort is there in the world, it's amazing to actually.
But again, Allah doesn't leave you to do it on your own. He helps you through that.
Yeah.
So sometimes you'll find that when you're expecting this person to be there for you, you'll find that they're not.
Be, yeah.
And then that's when the arguments will happen, and that's when you'll feel let down, and your disappointment. And that's God sort of saying to you, look, you'll never feel that disappointment if you rely on me.
Yeah.
Just come back to me. And it's God sort of making you realize that there is no one who's perfect, and only He will always be there for you.
Definitely.
So, although you think that this person's going to be there for you always, that everyone can think of times when they've been let down by the people that they love. And that's God. And
that's part of life, isn't it? Yeah. We do learn that. And it's amazing, because I think it's such a blessing for you that, to have those worldly comforts, and then to think, well, actually Allah, it is just you that is there. So for me, for instance, for myself, I always look at her strength, and I think, nowadays how many husbands would say that, yes, you can go with your brother, I'll be at home, you can take the children. To think about the personalities and their decisions they made, the fact that she didn't feel that her marriage was going to be the reason for her to stay behind and say, sorry, I've got my marital duties. And, we've got to look at the state that, we have an Imam who's inshallah going to reappear in our lifetime. As a woman, am I going to say, I've got my husband, I'm not coming with you? And she's telling us, no, you leave everything, because your spiritual jihad and your purpose is with Allah. And it's, and I sometimes wonder, it wasn't just her brother, this was the Imam of her time.
Yeah,
so she had a responsibility to be with him. And as women, we will also have that, we will be faced with those questions of, decision. Are you going to stay with your worldly life, your children, your husband, whoever it is? And obviously elderly parents' responsibilities, and I'm not saying that's you overlook those things, but if it was a normal situation and you actually think, no, my Imam needs me. So I think
if you look at the way, sorry, I didn't mean to
No.
But if you look at the way she did it, it was from the beginning, it was something that she'd actually said to him at the time of marriage, that I want to be able to go with my brother if he needs me.
Yeah.
So I think being a wife, being a mother, I need to have those conversations and actually just prepare my family. Look, if my mom comes, I don't want to have to worry about you and asking your permission and saying, can I do this, can I do that? I want you to say, you know what, it's okay for you to go. And I'm saying the same thing to you as well.
Yeah.
And, and as a family, we make that decision and we've had those conversations. So we're actually preparing ourselves for the coming of the Imam. We've had these discussions. So none of us actually have to then think about how the other family members will feel, because we already know that, you know, we've got their blessing.
Exactly, and hopefully we're not like, you know, how we were saying about another program about prophet and all that. It's just you going and your spouse is there, and you think, oh my goodness. But I find, you know, her strength, as you were saying quite rightly, that, you know, this was one of, you know, the difficult situation. But you think she was born into a difficult sort of, you know, a jihad from the beginning. She came in, and her mother had passed away. She had the responsibility of her siblings. Her, you know, going through all that, you know, movement and change. It's not easy for a child. You know, often we say that, you know, in you know, sort of research now, that children need that stability, they need to have that comfort. But anything but Ahlbayt show us that you have none of that, but you are still the best of examples. So don't use those as an example to say, a reason to say, oh, I'm this damaged, because, I mean, obviously we're not them, and that's not what I'm saying.
But it shows that as a human being, you can have that potential.
Yes.
You can achieve that.
And I think it's important to, you know, often people say, I hear them saying, well, we're not Imam Hussain, we're not Sayyada Zainab, but we will never be them, and let's not kid ourselves. But in our capacity, we can be the best we can be.
And you also have other people who were not Masum, who still managed to do so much. So, you know, like, for example, Bibi Hajar alayhi salam. You know, she wasn't Masum, but yet she managed to, you know, get to a stage where she achieved so much that, you know, that Allah then gave her that status where not only women but men walk in her footsteps. So, you know, it is possible. So, you know. And
I think also what's wonderful is, you know, sometimes women, there are some women who only relate to women, and yet, you know, say that Zainab, I'm sure she is an example to men as well.
For sure.
Imam Hussain is an example for women. It's their universal character, you know, personalities.
I mean, the actual statement that she makes, that everyone quotes, and I think it's really important to think about, what does that statement mean to me? You know, it's like, you know, you constantly hear, she says, oh, I only saw beauty. And you're thinking, wow, how did you only see beauty? You know, it's like the inhumane way that, you know, they slaughtered the Imam of the time, you know, and all her family members, you know, all the males of the family members, and then the way that they were treated afterwards and everything. It's like, how did you only see beauty? And again, I think, you know, reflecting on that and thinking about, what does that mean to me personally? And, you know, and to me, again, it goes back to Allah and the fact that her connection with Allah and seeing the greater picture and seeing Allah's hand in all of it. So she's not just
she's transcended from the physical, hasn't she?
She's not just confining it to this physical world where all there was ugliness.
Exactly.
She's actually seeing through this martyrdom the place where Imam Hussain alayhi salam will reach, you know, the
absolutely the eternity of his position,
the position that he will be given because of what he went through.
And how much he says, I mean, you said in another program about who is Hussain, that to this day his love and sacrifice guides people, because you think, what was it that drew him to do what he did? And you're absolutely right. But I think with Sayyida Zainab, you know, her position on that day, you think, while she transcended it and she saw the reality, you think, how many people would it be if that was us and, you know, our like-minded people that who could actually survive something that's traumatic as that? And so what lessons do we need? And it's probably just exactly that statement, that look beyond what it is that you've suffered.
I think for me that statement is to actually look at the growth that Allah is expecting from me. And He knows that I'm ready for, because He wouldn't give me anything that I'm not ready for. So, you know, there are two things that, you know, that two ways that things happen is either it comes directly from Allah, where Allah decides that, you know, I'm ready for something and He will then give me some sort of difficulty in my life, or something which will help me grow, or because of the free will of mankind, something will happen to me. Again, Allah doesn't abandon me. He gives me the tools to be able to handle it and allow me to grow through that as well. So whatever it is, whether it's through the will of the people or whether it's directly from Allah, I know there is growth in it. And if I know there's growth in it and I'm looking for the growth and I'm looking at it from a very positive perspective, which is where you see, say, the Zainab then come out with that statement about I only see beauty, because she could see the positiveness of what it was leading to. She could see the growth within for herself and the other people that were involved, you know, there. What tends to happen with us as human beings is whenever we're put into a difficult situation, we feel sorry for ourselves. And it becomes a very negative thing, and then we wallow in our self-pity. And again, that's a very, you know, that's how Shaitan sort of uses it. And, you know, and then he makes us feel like, oh, poor me, you know, no one has it as difficult as I do, and how, you know, and because we're wallowing in our own self-pity, we never grow and we never then see anything but this, the difficulty that I'm in. And Sayyada
It's the
Zainab teaches
endurance.
us.
Sorry.
Sayyada Zainab alayhi salam teaches us how to sort of, again, transcend
Yeah.
from that difficulty to actually see the growth and move towards Allah, because that's what it's all about.
So in terms of to get where she got to and what she saw and everything that, her journey was, which in itself is such a, it's just, it baffles, and it's very, it's enormity of her experience, but her patience to, and her mission started, well, obviously you could say it started from the beginning, but from the point of the martyrdom, where she then had to take that position, and the Imam of her time was, obviously unwell. So do you think, as in sort of within us, that you're saying, we become helpless, the core thing is to be patient through those trials, isn't it? And then the reward comes from, how would you?
Again, I think the word patience itself is a very sort of passive thing.
Yeah.
If you look at sabr, it's
Yeah.
a very active thing.
Yeah.
I would probably translate it more as perseverance rather than patience, because I feel patience in English is a very passive thing. It's like, I'll just wait for this time to be over and then I'll be okay. Or, it's not like that. Sabr is supposed to be where no matter what situation I'm in, I've got that strength to continue and do what is required from, Allah, what Allah requires from me. I'll have that strength within me, and that's sabr. Whereas we sort of, just wait it out. Just wait it out, and things will get better, and I'll get over it. That's not what sabr is. So I think it's that concept of perseverance, just pushing myself and knowing that God's given me those tools to be able to handle it and to be able to then move forward and grow from it. And it's again looking at the positive rather than the negative.
Yeah.
The sad thing is, I think the way shaitan works, he constantly makes us look at the negatives. So even when something is very positive, for example, we've been given the opportunity to go for ziyarah. We'll go for ziyarah. Say I'm going for ziyarah for 10 days. Now, when it gets to the 7th, 8th day, I'm already starting to feel negative. It's like, I've got to go back, and next week at this time I'm going to be back in London. I was always meant to go for 10 days. I'd never gone there to stay there. Do you see? And then what I do is, because I'm feeling very negative, the last few days are wasted to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And then I come back and then I go through what people have referred to as the post-ziyarah blues.
Yeah.
Again, I'm supposed to come back spiritually uplifted and, ready for this world and bring it back into my world and everything. But what shaitan's done is he's made the positive experience of ziyarah into a negative thing, because all I'm doing is feeling sorry for myself. I'm not back there now. I wish I was there.
Is it just that, or that the fact that separation is a part of our existence?
Yes, but
that yearning, and they are
the yearning
purpose and the reality
pushes
of
you to emulate those personalities, not to sort of feel sorry for yourself. They never, you never see them feeling sorry for themselves. It's like none of the Ahlul Bayt ever felt sorry for themselves. Yes, they felt sad because they were humans. Of course, they felt sad, but they never felt sorry for themselves. Whereas we're constantly feeling sorry for, it's not fair. I was in ziyarah. Do you see the difference? It's like, yes, you will feel sad because of the yearning of being separated from from them,
but look at the fact that you were there.
Yes, and what did I get from it? And how am I going to bring it back to my life? What am I going to do with that opportunity that God gave me? How am I going to grow from it? So constantly be looking for the growth and the positiveness rather than the negativity.
Keep the zen.
Yes.
Thank you so much. That's all
You're
we
welcome.
have time for. Inshallah, another topic next time. And now we have mini Hussainis.